especially for those of you who really want to be a millionaire and you're not just talking. If you're just talking, then there's a club for that. They look great. They wear all the t-shirts that say that they're a boss and they're doing nothing. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the person behind you.
Because I really don't know what I would do if I didn't have some work that I had to get to.
Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of WorkHARDAholics. For those of you who are wondering what does it mean, it's the movers and the shakers always doing something. If you want to be in balance and get some more green, WorkHARDAholics. That pretty much covers what we're here and what we're here to talk about and what we're here to do. We're here to work hard, play harder, and the business better. So this means you. Oftentimes, people ask me, they're like, Shirley, I saw that you were over here at this event. You're hosting it. For example, just in the past, 2 weeks? Let's see. Last night was the reception at the executive mansion with the governor, which was amazing. We had a conference that we hosted 2 weeks ago. We just finished posting and completing a report on the small business ecosystem of Black and brown businesses in the metropolitan Richmond area. We're still running a center. I still run a consulting company. I am actually working on completing another book that I want to have out of my computer by this week. In addition to that, working with other clients and doing all kinds of things. And still having, believe it or not, a partial social life. We went down to North Carolina to Seven Springs, FYI, Seven Springs Vineyard, which is lovely. It's really pretty. Someone else was having a wedding. We went out. They were having live jazz music. It's an African-American owned winery. And it's really not too far. It's just right into the North Carolina border. And so in addition to that, have done a plethora of other things and have still managed to take care of most of my mother's needs that she's asked for without driving her crazy at taking too long at them. And did I mention that's just the past week and a half or so, 2 weeks. And so that's why I'm officially a workahardaholic. You're probably in the same boat. You might not be doing as much, you might be doing more, but the bottom line is we come together on Wednesdays at 1 to be able to learn how to balance everything else that we have going on and to excel at what we do. So not to just do it, but to do it well. Otherwise, it's not worth doing at all. So in addition to that, to being able to establish the relationships in our business, in our social lives, and everything else. And have I mentioned, I'm online dating. It sucks. But it's all a part of the process of being a workahardaholic. I have things to do. You have things to do. Let's come together to help you do them better and to still have your sanity about you when it's all said and done. So that's why we're here, and that's what we're going to get done. Boop, boop, boop. Let's go. All right, so as I mentioned somewhere in that diatribe, last night we had the distinct pleasure, Ty and I, the other founder of the Women's Business Center, had the distinct honor and pleasure of being invited to a reception and an event at the governor's mansion. And to be honest, although I have worked with people from the governor's office before, I don't recall ever visiting the executive mansion outside of that tour you take as a child. And so it was very exciting. and really quite an honor to be acknowledged. It was a pretty intimate event. I know less than 100. I feel like it was like 50 people, and so really got a chance to talk to people, to network. Y'all, you know how I feel about networking. To network and connect. Met some amazing, amazing, amazing people. And so the event itself is in honor of Women's Equality Day, which is officially tomorrow. And so I'm not sure how you're going to celebrate that. I'm not sure how you're going to honor it, but you can start by acknowledging that that's what it is. So it's all significant and based on the fact that women's voting rights. And so when that all transpired, and so in the state of Virginia, and it's a national holiday, August 26th, every year is Women's Equality Day. And so I still have some people who are like, well, why is that even necessary? And although I admit that initially gives me like this gut-wrenching, violent response, I think it's really important for all of us when we're talking about the education of one another to recognize that someone knows something that you don't know. Someone has a different background than you. Someone has a different understanding. We all have a different lens that we take on life. And so respect that difference and tone down the violent response when someone says, why is your hair that way? Or why is your skin color this way? Or why do you need a women's business center? Why don't you have a men's business center? I hear that one all the time. And so rather than get all like riled up, take a moment, breathe, and answer the question. You might be the doorway of education in someone's life that they might not have ever had someone logically, sensibly respond to the question. I don't know if I've ever told you all this story. It's not women's equality related, but still related to that tolerance in education and comprehension and conversation. When I was at JMU, go Dukes, Madison, James Madison, the whole nine. And so I worked through school, right? Because I paid for my education outside of scholarships because I'm so smart. Anything else I had to pay for. And so I had a job. And I was waiting tables, and this I can't remember what she looked like. I just know she was a little white girl, a little Caucasian child. And she walked up to me. I have no idea where her parents were initially. She walked up to me and she asked me with the biggest smile on her face. See, these are the details that I remember. And she said, "Are you the same color all over?" And I paused and I thought to myself, or did she? And she asked me a second part, which I won't mention because I was like, it was slap worthy, but she's a child and she didn't have the information and apparently hadn't had the exposure and no one to ask the question of. So she asked the perfect stranger. And so near the end of her sentence, her question, her mom popped up and so embarrassed. And I was like, no, we're going to answer this question. Just one moment. So I proceeded to tell her that it wasn't dirt, that this is my skin color, that I am this color because I have melanin. She is that color because she lacks melanin. And so that it's all over. Yes, we all kind of tan, but it's a whole different thing. And so we had a little mini conversation about skin color. And a lot of you would have been like offended, like, who are your parents? What do you do? It's a child. And so if you can think of each person you're talking to as having that same childlike wonder, innocence, and a need of understanding, when you're explaining it to them, I think it'll make room for more conversations. So when we talk about women's equality, even in 2021, soon going into 2022, it is still stated today that it will be almost 200 years before women and men are at equal pay, which is ridiculous. I mean, really, it's ridiculous. And this is to say a man and a woman who have the same amount of experience, potentially been at the same job for the same amount of time, and they will not have the same paycheck. And it used to be like a old boys club, and you didn't know. And as women, you weren't educated on how to negotiate or how to even know what someone else is making. And so now you have sites that'll give you an idea. Like Indeed does a pretty good job. Indeed, Monster, Glassdoor. There's several sites out there will say, hey, here's the average salary for that. If you work for the state and you make over a certain amount, those salaries are published information. But it used to be some companies had a taboo that said that you were not allowed to talk about your salary with someone else, as if they have the right. But it was a standard policy. And so we as women, being good rule followers, we follow the rules and we didn't know. And so now I'm telling you, in order for that pay gap to decrease, in part, we do need to be aware that there is a pay gap. Men, pay attention now. Think about it as if it were your mother, your sister, your aunt, your cousin, someone you cared about, and to know that someone was underpaying them just because they were a woman. So tomorrow, once again, August 26th, is Women's Equality Day. That's what it's about. That's what we're talking about. And so acknowledge it. That's all. We're going to start right there. Start with some education. Look up some stats. Find out the information. Find out what it is and why it isn't. And then from there, figure out how you can help. What can you do to be an advocate, an ambassador, a voice, whatever it may be. But we're going to start with celebrating tomorrow, Women's Equality Day. All right. And on that note, of course, that leads me to our word for the week. Our word for the week, the day before Women's Equality Day, is homologous. Not homogenized, but homologous, right? We know that homo, I know that oftentimes we all think of that in sexual terms because that's the word that we toss around the most. But homo means same, all right? All right, so same, and we're talking about being equal, right? So homologous means just that. Same relation, same pattern. It means even in cells, right, that they are the same. Joined together, they were the same. Joining them together just makes them larger and the same. So that's homologous. And so, of course, as you can see, there's a theme happening here, right? So that's the bottom line. When we talk about equal pay, when we talk about equality for women and men, it's not a matter of saying one being better than the other. It's not even about saying that the two have to be the same in functionality, but there are certain areas where they should have the same privileges, the same rights, the same platform, the same functionality. So I'm almost inclined, I feel like I'm just on this like diatribe. Like I think I'm just there at the moment. But I'm thinking about the fact that Governor Northam made a statement last night, and I was standing next to Senator Jennifer McClellan, who I highly respect. When you look at her legislation and things that she has accomplished for the state of Virginia in her tenure, it's quite amazing. And she's so open and friendly and hospitable, very Southern in that way, and always so kind. And she's always advocating for the needs of her constituents. Like you find some people who come into office and they're just kind of like there. And this is not a Republican Democrat statement. This is just facts. And she's also one of those people who tends to do a very good job on working with both sides of the aisle, which I know right now we know nothing about because we're very divisive. This conversation is probably feeling divisive when it's not intended to be, but that's just where our country is right now. At the moment you mention politics, people are like, oh, what's her stance? This is not a stance, it's just a statement. And so the governor made a statement about the fact he was talking about women and women's contributions to society. And so, like, we got to go see. If you haven't been on the state capitol grounds recently, go. I haven't been in a while. The last time I was there was for the groundbreaking for the women's monument that they had done. And then I never went back to see it erected. Shame on me. So I got to go see that yesterday. It's a lovely exhibit. It reminds me a lot of the MLK exhibit. It's got the whole circular piece to it. It's very interesting. And if you don't know who the women are, don't worry. There's a chart for that. Okay. And inside of the governor's mansion, which they get to redecorate themselves when they come into office, they actually have like a picture of Barbara Johns. If you don't know who that is, don't tell me that. Go look it up. Okay. And so one of the statements he made was about the contributions of women, including his wife, the First Lady of the state of Virginia. And he mentioned the fact that while we're making great strides, Virginia has never had a woman governor. And so I did mention I was standing next to Jennifer McClellan, and I was thinking to myself, we could have, but that's another story for another time. Hopefully in the future, all these things will come to pass. But part of the thing is, even as I look at the women who've been nominated for political office in the past, I think a lot about Hillary Clinton. I really don't think we be all on politics. I'm just really on equality. And so we haven't had a female contender for the Republican Party for president. At least not recently. I can think of one, but it was a long time ago. And I don't think that was Republican per se. I think it was a different party. Anyway, and so I think a lot about the conversation that was had about her. So it was the statements that were being made were so having no relationship to her politics. There's so many things you can say about Hillary Clinton, positive and negative. There's a lot of negative. There's so many things you can say and it still be factual. It can be based on the work that she has enough history in politics that you have things to talk about. You've seen her as a first lady. You've seen her as one of the secretaries. You've seen her work. You've seen her as a senator. She has a very long background. There are lots of things you can pick holes in or uplift her for. So then why do we have to talk about the fact that she's wearing pants? Right? Like, who cares? Why do we have to talk about, will she be emotional and send a bomb? And no offense to anyone else, but the most emotional president that we've had recently that I'm aware of, the most volatile, has definitely been President Trump. That's not a Republican Democrat statement. That's just a fact. He is the most volatile president we've had. And I haven't heard anyone make any concerns about whether or not he was going to push a button. Right? It's just that when we look at her politics, it's like, as a people, collectively, we're hypocritical on the things that we judged her for and even the things we praised her for, because a lot of it was based off the fact that she is a she. It was based off of her sex. I'm just saying. And so that's part of the reason why we're still having conversations about being homologous. Are we really equal? Are we really even? When it comes to our pay, when it comes to our position and our places, there are still so many who believe that a woman's place is in the house and that she has no right to anything else. I will be the first to say I greatly respect. I have such a high level of respect for a homemaker because they are raising not future generations, they're raising this generation. They're training them up. They're the ones who are out here making sure, especially those who are really engaged in like the PTA and their neighborhood watch, like those who are picking kids up from school and really taking care of things. Like, I so appreciate and respect it. It's not my gig, but I so respect it. But that's your choice. We even talk about it in Collaboration, which is a nonprofit organization that we're affiliated with. We talk about that we're here as a resource for women, whether you are the CEO of a Fortune 500 or the CEO of your household. We still want to provide you with the resource and the tool that you need to be complete, to be whole, to be happy, and to be able to get the job done. But the idea that someone tells you that this is your role, that's, you want to go, is it 2021 or 1921? Okay, just saying. So once again, tomorrow is Women's Equality Day. Please be sure to celebrate, honor, respect, do what you can to lift that up. And then, of course, to really consider, what does it really mean to be homologous? Just saying. Okay. On that note, we're going to get ready to hear a word from our sponsors. I also want to note that if you're interested in being a sponsor, please visit our website and sign up for that information so that you too can be shouted out during the WorkHARDAholics show. Do. I like my sound effects in case you were remotely curious. Ladies, are you looking to move your office from your kitchen table to a space of your own? Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Are you looking for co-working and community? Well, then come join us at the Women's Business Center, RVA, located at 1510 Willow Lawn Drive, Suite 100, directly across the street from the Kroger at Willow Lawn. Visit us on the web at wbcrva.com or on social media at WBCRVA. When you're ready for more than just office space, come join the WBCRVA family.
Let Socialita help your business stand out from the crowd by building your brand success through social media management. We're located at 1510 Willow Lawn Drive, Suite 100. Our website is www.socialitarva.com. You can also give us a call at 804-484-2001. Again, Socialita.
Imagine Media Lab, in partnership with the Women's Business Center, offers hourly rental to a multimedia studio. Create or edit digital assets for marketing. Record that podcast you've always wanted to start. Voiceovers and live stream. All equipment and software is included in your hourly rental. Located at the Women's Business Center, 1510 Willow Lawn Drive, Suite 100. ImagineMediaLabs.com. Book your session today.
Alrighty then. Thanks again to those who make this show possible. And once again, if you would like for that to be you, we can send you information on sponsorship. Okay. On that note, we were talking about the fact that tomorrow, August 26th, is Women's Equality Day. In addition to that, our word for this week is homologous. Homologous. I do love a good word. I really, really do. And we want to share with you our book it moment for this week. Our book for this week is none other than You Can Do It. Okay, I'm sorry. That amused me if no one else. All right, it's the Merit Badge Handbook for Grown-Up Girls. Dare to dream, learn something new, do something just for you. Doesn't it sound like it should be? I feel like this should be on a shirt or something. You can do it. All right. So I love this book. It really, I don't know if anyone else was a Girl Scout. I really was. I was a Girl Scout troop leader. Do I seem like it? On my honor. No, like really. And so this gives me like the guide for Girl Scouts, like grown up Girl Scouts. This is really what this book makes me feel. And so it's everything: start a band, build a business, throw a party, reconnect, plant a garden, like whatever it is you're thinking about. And they literally take you through the process on how to do it. And then you can get your badge, just like when you were in Girl Scouts. If you were a good Girl Scout, you had your sash and you had all your badges for your accomplishments. This has all of your badges in the back. Like, I love it. I'm sorry. I love it. I love it so much. I love it so much that I have refused to take the badges out of the book. I just look at them and say, I did that. So one of my favorite sections is something that I have the badge for multiple times. It's how to be an author. So the subjects totally vary. So the whole idea is you pick a badge that you're thinking about, and then they give you instructions on basically how to get it accomplished. So as an entrepreneur, I firmly believe that being an author is extremely important, and for a few reasons. So if you're my client, I always talk about the fact that as a subject matter expert, when you speak and you're in front of an office and you've been vetted out by the organization, people assume by just reasonable mind, by logical thought, if someone invited you, they assume that you are qualified, that you're a subject matter expert. There you go. And so in addition to that, another way is when you write a book. Now, right now, there are a lot of cheats. There are a lot of cheats for writing a book. There are books that are actually pre-written, and they will allow you to change the cover, add your name, and you pay a fee to use those books. I'm not a supporter. I mean, I understand the why, but to me, that's just like plagiarism. But clearly, it's perfectly. I guess it's not. Is it plagiarism when they tell you you can? No, I'm still gonna stick with it because, like, even if two of you are taking a test and the other person says it's okay for you to copy their answers, the teacher would still say that's cheating. I'm just saying, your own definitions of what you need to do. So there are services out there that do that, that will allow you to basically someone, and I don't mean ghostwriting. Ghostwriting is different, although I still find ghostwriting interesting. But ghostwriting means that you're not comfortable writing. You're sharing your story with someone else, and they're crafting it into the words to make sure that you are, getting it written out. That's different than, hey, I wrote a book. You can put your name on it and take the credit. Okay, that's just me. All right, but writing a book that you wrote yourself in particular is a great way to show yourself as a subject matter expert, because clearly you have enough information to fill 50 pages, 100 pages, 200 pages, 300 pages, 4. That's too many pages. I'm not reading that, honestly. Okay, so this is one section. It's about how, becoming an author, right? So you actually get assigned a mentor, and so your mentor is actually taking you through the whole process. And it's everything from telling you, like, why are the benefits, getting your mindset to get it all together. They tell you about your mentor. Then they tell you the steps. So in this case, write right away, learn your craft, get a writing life. And that means everything from timing, venue, tools of trade. What are your writing goals? There are several authors groups, and sometimes they're like, you should write, oh my God, I forget how many words a day. I feel like it's 500. Is it? Because that's what I feel like, it's 500. Although this writing mentor says 250 a day is perfectly acceptable. So you set your goals. She talks about what the process that you might go through. What's the structure? So there are some people who like to start with, and it depends on the type of writing. So I'm a business writer. And so normally speaking, like, I can do it like a research paper. But if you're a poet like Christina over there, or, you deal more so with writing about characters, I know some of my clients say they write what the characters speak to them. And then they go from there, and the story develops. Me as a business writer, or a writer, a subject matter expert in things related to business, I think about it, I think very linearly. So I'm thinking about what's the outcome I want you to get, what's the information you need for that, and then I break down the steps on each item. So like if I were writing a book about how to write a business plan, which I keep thinking about, I'm constantly teaching the class. As a matter of fact, I'm teaching it right now about how to write a business plan. And so I keep thinking I can make that into book format. I think I'm just going to do the webinar first, and then you can look at it. I don't know if I will sit there and read through how to do a business plan. But the point is, when it comes to the writing, you have to figure out like your style and set up accordingly. And your style doesn't have to be like anyone else's. You want to stay inspired, have a journal, have a support group, writing groups. I just mentioned there's several of them all around. How to get past what they talk about writer's block, how to get past that, setting up an outline, reference books, revising, and then actually stop writing, coming to a conclusion, right? And then she talks about getting published, and she has books that she recommends on how you do that. And that's just one little one little section of a very large book on how you can do it. And so that's part of the reason why I'm really fond of that book in particular, because here's the thing. How to make a book fall. That's something I can say I accomplished. Here's the thing. So oftentimes when I'm talking to potential entrepreneurs, they often have an idea. They have this grand scheme. FYI, if you are a real entrepreneur, you normally have like 3 ideas, 5 ideas, like multiple ideas on something you want to do, and they're not always related. And so one of my biggest things is helping an entrepreneur grab one of those ideas that we recognize is a business, not a hobby, and it's something that can actually make money. And then from there, we actually sit back and go through the whole goal objective. And then we break it on down into the sections of running the business and all the pieces and parts of how you make that happen. And a lot of times, when people have the idea, they don't know how to translate that. So like one of the things I always say is that I help you translate your idea into reality. And so a lot of times, like, you all have these thoughts, and part of the reason why you never get it done and that you feel like you can't do it is because you don't understand how to go from A to Z. And sometimes it's just that simple. So it's part of the reason why I'm so hung up talking about quantifiable goals. Because when you can say, hey, I want to, so example, I'll go back to me. I mention it a lot because I'm still working on it. I have mentioned repeatedly that I have health goals, right? And so because of those health goals, has it been, I think it's been 2 months now. I think it's been 2 months. I don't think it's been 3 yet. I think it's been 2 months that I started my most recent health journey. So I joined the YMCA. I really did join. And sometimes in my class, they actually do break out in that song. I have faithfully been going to the gym. I go normally like 4 or 5 times a week. And so I've been working out, and I have stages in accomplishment. So for most of you, when you're saying, I want to be healthy, you're going, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever, which is quantifiable. Yes, it is. But for as a woman in particular, we lose weight differently than men. Men can do the exact same thing that you're doing, and they will double their loss, period, because their bodies are meant to burn differently than women's. Accept it. Move on. And so as a woman, it's a lot easier to be discouraged. So if your end goal, if your quantifiable goal is 40 pounds, and it's taking you, let's say you do I'm a paleo person. You do keto, you stop eating bread, you stop eating sugar, you do the no sugar addict, or you do Weight Watchers, or you do whatever, and you drop 10 pounds, and it's like, oh, it's great. And then you don't drop anything else for like a billion years. It's really easy to get discouraged. So that's why when you're goal setting, you're not just looking at I want to get to the goal. I see the goal. I see it. It's on the other end. I want to lose 40 pounds. I see it. Well, think about, logically speaking, what else happens in the process of losing the 40 pounds? Like, what's the point of losing 40 pounds? Is it just because there's an event and you want to wear a dress for it? Or is it because you want to be able to play with your grandkids? Is it because you want to run a marathon? Half marathon, people, 2022. I'm getting it done. I'm already looking up for Hawaii. 2022. That's one of my goals. In my case, the real clincher for me was my knee, which had not been hurting me in so long that I forgot that I had injured it before. I was sleeping and it was causing me pain. So one of my goals was, I was like, oh, that means one of two things. Either I've been eating cheese, which makes my joints swell, yay! Or I'm just getting too fat, and that's too much pressure on my knee. And that happens to a lot of you, that you have too much weight on you, and so it affects your joints. So one of my goals was, so I'm making my way to my number of weight loss, which I haven't told you what it was because I'm not telling you. None of your business. You are not my accountability partner for the number. Thanks anyway. But one of my goals was that, I'd be able to sleep without pain, and, to be able to move about and do whatever else and not have pains in my knee. And I am happy to report, a month and a half in, 2 months in, however long it's been, I no longer have, you can't see me stretching my knee, can you? Ha, ha, ha. But I sleep through the night and I have no pains whatsoever in my knee. So while my scale, hear this part clearly, while my scale has barely moved, I just want to point that out. My scale, at one point, I had gained 2 pounds, which I thought was highly offensive. And then at this point, my weight loss on the scale is very slow, even though I've changed my diet, I've done all kinds of things. But it's also because the body is making changes that might not register in the way that you think they should. So I know that I'm in the right path. I'm doing the right things. The progress is coming. but I don't necessarily see it in the way that I thought I would. So for you as an entrepreneur, as a potential writer, as a potential, singer, as a potential whatever it is that you're going to do, you have to be able to look at your end goal and also see what else you're looking. Why is it that goal? What are you looking to accomplish? So I remember for me long ago, one of my goals, and you've heard me say it before, one of my goals was I used to sing on the praise team at my church. I was very much a backup singer. And so one of my goals was always to be able to, and I go to a really vibrant church. So like we dance and we sing, and it's like a party. It's like a club on Sunday mornings, right? And so one of my goals was to be able to sing and dance at the same time for like 30 minutes straight without being out of breath. Right. So that was another easy way for me to measure my health level, because some of you can't walk and talk at the same time. Right. So that's what I'm talking about. So as you're setting your goals, as you're looking to see what it is you're looking to accomplish, think about not only what's the end goal, but the whys of that end goal, because you might reach some of the whys before you reach the goal. So my scale has not been a supporter of this potential health journey, but I've seen it in other ways. So translate that to your business, translate that to your life, translate to what you are looking to accomplish, and you'll be able to say, you too. You can say, I can do it. And feel free to pick up the book too. It was very helpful and very inspirational. All right, so on that note, as I've mentioned once again, tomorrow, August 26th, is Women's Equality Day. Also, we said our word for this week is, say it with me, homologous. Homologous, not homogenous, homologous. Okay? And our book for this week, our book. Yeah, that's what it is. Our book for this week is none other than You Can Do It. It's a girl's guide. It's basically the merit badge book for adult women who may have never been a Girl Scout, but you can get your badges now. Get your badges now. Okay, so on that note, as we continue on our journey, we normally take time to talk about our time, tool, technique for the week. And most of the time I love to talk about like geeky stuff, because in case you didn't know, I am a legitimate geek and proud of it. Who runs the world? Geeks. Just so you know. All right. But I want to talk about some tools and resources that you can be using to be more productive and also to be more aware. So as I mentioned, tomorrow is a Women's Equality Day, and there's an exercise that I normally do whenever I get a new dancer. Right. So yeah, amongst all the other things that I do, I oversee the youth dance ensemble for my church, and I have for oh my goodness, I'm so old. It's been almost 30 years. That seems ridiculous. It's more like 25. Not to overestimate by saying almost 30. It's been about 25 years, maybe a little bit more. And one of the things that I always have them do, because if you've ever seen someone dance, there's a difference in seeing someone dance and they're like, as opposed to that little bit extra with facial expressions is a thing. And so we recently have some new dancers, and so I have them doing this exercise, and it's going to apply to all of you, but it's a matter of observation. So we supply each new dancer with a journal. Does everyone have a journal? If you don't, you can take a very quick journey over to the dollar store. You don't even have to go broke. Right now, they're selling school supplies. You can get a composition book from Walmart for 50 cents. It might be 70. It'll be less than $1. So this is what you're going to do. You take your journal, assuming you understand that means with a pen or a pencil. Right? You need a writing utensil. Just assuming we're all on the same page. And as a matter of observation. So in this case, for my preteen dancers, when we talk about musicality and dancing and song, and if the song is talking about being sad, then no one expects you to be like, Jesus died on the cross. That's not what we're talking about, right? So that means you have to be aware of what you're expressing, how you're expressing. And I have a young lady right now, bless her heart, she's so sweet. And she's just like, my face looks the same all the time. And so I said, I understand, but this is what you're going to do. I want you to go and look at other people. Take a moment of observation and just say, so if you're watching a movie and you know when it gets to, we all know when it's the sad part, the music changes. Dun, 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 dun. Like we get that lower register. We're like, oh my God, something sad's happening. Or we get to dun, 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 dun. Whatever it is, you can tell by what's about to happen. You can anticipate it based on the swell of the music, the sound, and the fluctuation. And so when you know that it's a sad moment, if you know you're watching a movie and it's a funeral scene, and it's not one that's all like dark, and it has like normal expression about the people, look at their faces. How can you tell that they're sad? If you're looking at a movie and now we're going back to school, and you have some movies and everyone looks so happy to go back to school, which is not realistic. Oh, sorry. And so what does that look like? What does their joy look like? Look at those moments. So as adults, as those of you who are non-dancers and are not concerned about other people's expressions, it's still a great moment to reflect on other people's issues. It's a moment for empathy, right? So a moment to try to understand the other person's perspective. And for those of you who are a bit narcissistic, and what that means is that you've never thought about anyone else's view other than your own, like your lens on life is your lens, and that's all that you know. Just taking a moment to reflect and be like, you know what, I might not be right. I don't want to shock you with that one. I don't want to cut you off guard. But just the idea of recognizing that there might be a different opinion. I am currently very fascinated with, I don't know why I feel like I'm on all these hot topics today, but it's not intentional. I'm really fascinated to hear the various opinions and perspectives on the U.S. pulling out of the Afghan area. Like I am fascinated by that conversation. I've also noticed that most people can't talk about it in a calm way. Like most people, it's a passionate subject, and they can only speak about it in a passionate way. And I don't know if it's because they feel like they have all the information, and so therefore the other side is wrong, and so there's no need for real discussion. There's only room for debate or divisiveness. But I am so fascinated. I have listened to conversations from, I am really excited about it. There's a letter from an Afghan woman, and she talks about what it means to her future and the future of the women in the country. And it's a heartfelt letter, and it's really moving and gripping. There's conversations from wives of vets who were either killed or injured during this very long war. There has been some political conversation of finally, I heard one conversation, and another thing is I love NPR. VPM, yeah, gotta love it. I've also been listening to IQ Radio. I know they're competitors, but hey, information for me is information. They're not competing with me. And so I've just been really in tune and listening. I even sought out oh my God, is Trevor Noah? Trevor Noah? I don't know why I always want to put it backwards. It's two first names. I love listening to his monologues in general, but really I love listening to comedians talk about politics, because they really strike at the core of the issues and try to let you see the humor in it as well. It's like a really soft way of punching you in the face and smiling at you. It's very interesting. And so I've been listening to the commentaries, and I have just been obsessed with the subject matter. And so for me, this is an example of how you can hold the mirror up and see the reflection of others. Like, instead of it always just being, here's my thought, here's my opinion, really taking a moment to observe the kaleidoscope of thought and opinion. And so, how is that relevant to you? Well, it's extremely relevant to you. But as your time tool technique, I would love to suggest that you grab a journal, if it's digital or whatever else the case may be, and pick whatever subject it is, whatever topic, whatever thought, and observe like a real 360 review on other people's thoughts, opinions, and feelings. Now, I've mentioned before, like as a time tool technique in the past, I mentioned about the 360 review. So for those of you who don't know what it is, once again, here is how a lens change will affect your life. I assumed eons ago that everyone knew what a 360 review was because I have worked for several organizations that use them. Turns out, all of you don't use them. Some of you had never heard of them, and some of you are only just beginning to utilize them. So my first 360 was when I worked at GE. And so here's how it works. There's an assumption, crazy that it is, that you are not just viewed by your employer. Your boss is not the only one who interacts with you. So therefore, your boss is not the only opinion that matters. You actually might have client interaction. What do the clients think about you and the work that you're doing? You also have to work with other people. There are a lot of people who are in a job and they might do well, but everyone hates them. That has an impact on who wants to work with you. So your actual fellow employees who could be on the same level, who could be, oh God forbid, a level beneath you. A secretary might review an executive. Who ever heard of such? So a 360 means just that. It's a review of you and the role that you have and the work that you're completing from all lenses, from all angles, from all perspectives. So it's an amazing tool to really hear, like, what does so-and-so think about the work that you're doing? Because we think, especially as entrepreneurs, we're going, okay, build a better mousetrap. So I created a face mask. And I did it because I wanted it to do XYZ. Well, I'm not the one buying it. I mean, I did buy this one. But in the end, if I'm the one making it, I'm making it for a customer. Does my customer want the changes that I made? Does my customer like royal blue? Do they want white logo on it? Is my customer getting what they need? My manufacturer. A lot of times, people sometimes will charge you based on your relationship. Shocker. You think there's a standard sticker price. There's a reason why two people can go into a dealership and walk out with two different prices on the same vehicle. It's what relationship, also what research, but what relationship did you establish with the dealer? What did you require? What did you demand? What did you request? That's based on a communication piece, right? So that 360 comes into place in so many different areas of your life, and you just often think it's whatever I like, and that's what it is, and that's what we're going to do, and that it has an impact. I love to talk about like customer service because I'm such an advocate for customer service. I went to Hardee's. I'm doing paleo, so like no bun for me, people. That's what it means. I go to the Hardee's on Mechanicsville Turnpike. I'm going to say all of it. And so the young lady who took my order, I specifically asked for a sandwich, no burger, no condiments, none of this. I'm just like basically the insides, some lettuce and tomato, and send it on its way. And so she says, okay. I come to the window. I knew the price sounded wrong, but you know, we get busy. So I'm more so concerned with the fact that I don't get any bread. So I pull up. Well, she hands me my receipt and I look at it and I'm like, you're charging me for a bun. Like there was a price line for a bun. Like bun is included with your sandwich. I had premium bun on my receipt and there was a price. It was 30 cents. We're not breaking the bank here. I mean, really. But on principle, I'm just like, hey, so I asked for no bun. Do you all charge to not serve the bun? And so she was like, yeah. Yeah. Let me be clear. I asked for no bun. Are you charging me extra to not give me the bread? Am I the only one who's like, what? I feel like you should take something off. I'm doing good to keep it at price, but really, if the price of the sandwich is based off of the content, you're taking away a big chunk of it with the bread because you know it's big and fat. I mean, really. And she's like, yeah, that's what it is. And she was just adamant about it. I said, okay, fine. It's 30 cents, people. I might not go back to that Hardee's. I can move on. It's no big deal. And so I pull up because I always check my food before I go. So I pull up, and would you believe there is bread on my sandwich? So I said, you overcharged me, and I get bread. So I park my car. I go in. The manager standing right there, and the manager proceeds to inform. So I'm a little ticked because I'm hungry, and you know we all get hangry. So I'm hungry. My order isn't right, and you overcharge me. I go inside. The manager is standing. Ironically, I don't know if they thought I was coming back. I don't know what it was, but the manager is standing next to the lady who took my order, and that was a drive-thru, and they're standing there, like right there when I first walk in. I don't know why. And so, I come in, and she's like, "Well, how can I help you?" And she was like, "You had the bun," and I said, "I'm not supposed to have the bun. You are absolutely correct." So I turned to the manager. I'm like, I just came through the drive-thru. One, I was charged for a bun when I asked for no bun at all. And then not only that, but I got a bun when I asked for no bun. I really was upset about it too. I mean, you know, when I get angry, I get really like polite and professional, but real crisp about it. And so like the attitude is clear, but I'm never nasty or rude because everyone is a person. And so the manager very quickly says she apologized. Now she's standing next to the girl. But she's like, my apologies. I took the order. I thought you were saying you wanted an upgraded bun, not that you wanted no bun. So apparently I got a potato bun or whatever the case may be. She said, I can happily refund your 30 cents. She didn't say it in a denigrating way. She was just saying she could refund the money. I'm telling you, it was just 30 cents. And she said something else. And I said, no need. I came in on the principle alone. So my tone totally changed. It's like when you calm down. I was still, I wasn't as like crisp about what I was saying. But my tone calmed down, and I was like, that's all I needed. I needed the acknowledgement, and not to be told, yeah. And I just needed it dealt with. That little piece of customer service made it all the better for me. Although I'm telling you this story, still I was calmer. I went about my way. I threw away the bun. I fed it to the birds, and I told her she could keep the 30 cents. The 30 cents was irrelevant at this time. It really wasn't the point. And so she was very kind about it, and I moved on. It makes a difference when we talk about that 360. It makes a difference in the interactions of how you manage your customer service, how you manage your relationships with those around you. I've also often told the story about how I got a job interview because I was nice to the receptionist. I mean, that was really how it happened. I've told the story before. I'll tell it again briefly. But I'm really on this customer service kick right now, as you can clearly see. But it's really a matter of respecting and honoring those who are around about you, and treating them equally, whether they be your postal person or whomever they might be. I love my postal people. They're great. Right now, I have Kevin Patterson. Hey, Kevin. I think he's filling in for somebody else. All right. And so nothing wrong with that, right? But learn how to treat each other, and then people give me like crazy deals, and I'm just like, no, it's okay. And like, no, you've been such a good customer. You're so nice. You're blah, blah, blah. And they look out for you and take care of you. So when we're talking about doing this whole 360 evaluation experience with your journals, be aware of the people around you, how you're impacting them, how they see you, how you're treating them. And it's not a fake thing, right? It's not I gave money to a homeless person because I know there's someone behind me looking at what I'm doing, or because I have a passenger in the car. But I take an action because I see and I empathize and I care. That's really the bottom line. It's really the bottom line on all of it. All right, I'm going to tell my last story, and then we're really getting ready to say goodbye, which is crazy, but true. So in this instance, I told the story before, so if you've been for a while, you just get to hear it again. That's all. So in this case, I went for a job interview. Now, you can't get me to go to a job interview. I do not want to be hired. I am self-employed. But thank you for playing. So I went to a job interview. I went to fill out. This is how old school this is. You had to you had to have your resume, but then you had to go in and fill out an application. So it's very much like if you're working for the state, they want you to attach your resume, but you still have to fill out a state application. But this was for a private organization. It was a job that was a dream job to me. If you're going to work for someone, this is the way where you want to do it and how I would want to do it. But I knew that I wasn't qualified. In this day and age, you would say, shoot your shot. I was all about it. I'm like, you know what? What harm does it do? If nothing else, it puts my name in front of them. And then in 5 years, when I'm actually qualified for this job, I can come back and they're like, wait a minute. I remember Shirley Crawford. I'm just saying. So I went in and filled out the application. The receptionist had them. So I went to the receptionist. I asked for the application. She supplied it. I completed it. I submitted it. I'm sure we had some small talk in between. I'm an introvert, so I'm limited on how much conversation you'll get out of me in general. But that's what we did. I left. They actually called me to come in for an interview. And I'm trying to tell you, I was like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, okay. So I went in for the interview. The guy interviewed me, and when it was over, he did for me what I do for people. If you come into an interview with me and you're either horrible or like you just had so many flaws, I like to have like a secondary meeting with you. Like, this is off the clock. This has nothing to do with your interview. You will not sue me for this. You have to agree, because I'm sharing privileged information with regards to like why you probably didn't get the job. And so there is liability. So I actually make sure that they agree that they won't sue, there won't be an issue. And I will explain the things that they did wrong because I want them to do better. And so at the end of this interview, he didn't ask for my liability. He just, because we both know I'm not qualified for this gig. But I'm an amazing interviewee, just FYI. I'm great at talking. Who would have guessed? Got my own podcast. Okay. And so when it was over, he said it was a pleasure meeting me, that he'd enjoyed the conversation. He said, but as far as the qualifications for the job, there were some other tiers that I would really need to be coming through before I could potentially get it. But once I had those accomplished, he'd be more than willing to have a conversation with me later. And I asked, well, I must ask, knowing that information, that was on my resume, then why did you even call me in for the interview? He said, in all honesty, the receptionist said that I had to. She said that if I didn't, she threatened him with something. And so he said she was so convicted about the fact that we needed to interview that we did. And that was that. And that's all based off of just being a decent human being to other human beings. And that led me to an interview that could have led to other things, but I never did follow back up with the company because my life went another direction. And here we are with my life. Okay, but keeping that in mind, it pays to acknowledge, appreciate other people, no matter what their level or status. Because someone once said, the people that you climb over as you're reaching to the top are the ones you're going to see as you're falling back down, right? I think they actually mentioned that at the Film Filmmakers Festival. It might have been Daphne Reed who was talking about that one, all right? So it pays to be kind, but in this case, as your exercise, your time tool technique, your work hard, play harder moment, all wrapped into one, get that journal and do a 360 on yourself and various aspects of your life to see where you're being a contributor and where you're being a hindrance, where you can do better and where you've been better, and how you can continue on in your process for growth and really have an understanding from those around you. Feel free to create a survey and actually send it to your friends. Send it to your frenemies. They'll be even better. Send it to those around about you to see, are you accomplishing? Send it to your customers, your clients. You set a mission and you set a goal. Are you accomplishing it? And it's not based off of what you like, but based off of the recipient that you have intended for it. Okay. On that note, it's been another wonderful time with WorkHARDaholics. So as we always like to say, live better, do better, please. Be better, and enjoy your Women's Equality Day. And until the next time, happy entrepreneuring. Ta-ta! For those of you who wonder